Welcome back to MMA Al Dente. I am the jerk off who picked Mike Davis to defeat Fares Ziam. Yeah, that was a stupid prediction. What do you want from me? Aside from a refund on your bets, which is something I cannot provide because I lost all of my bets on Mike Davis. And I knew I was going to lose 13 seconds into the fight when he decided to pull guard. I was sitting there thinking, didn't you say something about this guy having a physicality advantage? Whatever the fuck that means. But no, he didn't. Anyway, I am here to recap UFC Fight Night 250, Adesanya versus Imavov, which is another one I got wrong. And let's start here at the top with Nasruddin Imavov winning by knockout in round two. I will get to Imavov. He's the star of the show here. I will talk about him, but I feel like I have to lead with Israel Adesanya. I mentioned in the pre-fight that this could have been a pivotal fight for him. Of course, this was the first fight in which he wasn't the pay-per-view headliner or maybe co-headliner in like years and years. But still, this was only one fight removed from a title fight. His last fight was against DDP. So even with this loss, it's not like he's way down there at the bottom of the rankings. But this was certainly a pivotal loss, especially because he lost by knockout. Because I do think this is the end of him as a contender or certainly a champion. I just think he's got the skills to beat anybody. But the guy I've seen get clipped now in four of his last five losses, even if not all of them are by TKO. But he's still just only getting older and less durable and less fast altogether, which is just another way of saying slower, I guess. And it's just, it's definitely the end of Israel Adesanya at his greatness, at his peak. He's one of the all-time greats, speaking of greatness, and he's got a great amount of money, I'm sure. So he's a guy who can afford to retire. But I think even if he's going to keep moving on and keep fighting, uh, first of all, he's going to have to recover from this loss, which will only make him older the next time he steps into the octagon. And I just think I'm always going to have doubts about the shape he's in and his condition as a fighter. But his conditioning, his cardio, and his skills and everything are excellent, I'm sure. He's got the offense and all the skills to get it done against anybody, but defensively, there's too much going against him. And I think this kind of cemented that. Nasruddin Imavov, he's stepped over Izzy now. He's an immediate contender, and this is a loss that can look a lot better within months. Imavov could be a champion within a few months, by the end of this year, by the end of next year, whenever. He's definitely an excellent fighter, and there's no shame in losing to him. But still, he's lost to an excellent caliber fighter, but he's been clipped way too many times recently. And Israel Adesanya is a different fighter than he was just a few years ago when he was rematching Robert Whittaker. And that was still a razor thin fight. But yeah, excellent career for Izzy, if I can eulogize him and just say, yeah, as a champion or whatever, he was the man. He fought frequently, very frequently, and gave us a lot of highlights, a lot of lowlights too, a lot of more disciplined, fucking boring cannoneer type of fights, but whatever. He was the man, and he's still one of the best fighters ever as of now. Of course, even that will change with everything. People won't know John Jones's name before long. But Nasruddin Imavov, I have to talk about him and say, yeah, he leveled up here. And like I said a minute ago, he could be a champion soon. I don't know what he's got next. I do think Hamzat's going to be fighting the winner of next week's fight between Dricus du Plessis and Sean Strickland. But after that, Imavov, he's certainly in a spot where he could be fighting for a title without winning another fight. I think he will have to win another fight just because of the problem I just laid out, the traffic jam there. But I still think Imavov right now is a worthy contender, and I feel like, gun to my head, he's got a 50-50 shot at being champion. So this was excellent. He had to beat somebody like this. He's been competitive with Sean Strickland, which that loss got a lot better in the following few years. And he's done nothing but win aside from that in the last few years since he fought Phil Hawes. And I think here, though, beating Izzy and doing it the way he did, yeah, he looked a half step behind, in my opinion, speed wise on the feet, and he wasn't able to out wrestle him. But he didn't go anywhere, and his power and altogether everything he has was enough to get by Izzy. And now, yeah, this guy's got everyone's attention and respect. He's no longer the most underrated UFC, blah, 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 whatever the fuck you could have said about him last week. Now he's the fucking man of the hour, and this was an excellent win. In the co-main event, Michael Venom Page beat Shara Bullet Magomedov. I thought this was an excellent performance from Michael Venom Page. He just does what he does. He's so fucking unique and tricky, and he can really thwart guys. And I think he does so better than guys like better than somebody like Wonder Boy. He's just really good with the feints. I think he's maybe a little more dangerous altogether. And here at middleweight, he was certainly the faster guy, and he just kind of stifled Shara the whole fight, aside from round three when Shara had his back to the wall. But MVP looked fucking awesome here, and whatever he is, 37 years old or whatever, he is still a fighter that I think can beat anybody. It wouldn't surprise me if he beat anybody in welterweight or middleweight, aside from maybe Hamzat Chimaev, probably. But even the Shavkats of the world and whoever else, this guy's a problem for anybody in the world. Michael Venom Page, Ian Gary included. Razor thin fight between those guys. Here, this one wasn't so close. I do think Shara was just fighting a way too different challenge and something he's used to facing. He did want this fight because he's guaranteed to get the stand up fight, and he thought he could work his magic, but his magic needed to be set up, and there was no setup for against Michael Venom Page. He just shook him the whole fight with incredible feints and darted in at the right time and just I think hurt Shara certainly more than Shara hurt him. Shara, I don't even know if he landed a strike, until the end there. But Michael Venom Page really showcased his skills. Didn't do so in emphatic fashion, like he said. He wants to highlight real knockouts, but the win still means a lot. Taking somebody's O, and Shara Bullet is an incredibly talented guy. This is a win that probably will get better with age. But yeah, he gets a kickboxing bout against the newcomer, and he comes through in a big way. So excellent win for MVP, and for Shara Bullet. There's no doubts you'll hear me mention for his betting profile moving forward that he can, no weakness in his chin, no cardio issue, no body shot hit him the wrong way. He was just kind of stifled here, kind of thwarted by the uniqueness of Michael Venom Page, and he never really got going. So I suppose that can happen in the future, but I think it takes a special kind of fighter to do that. But yeah, Shara Bullet, certainly not his best performance, and he already came out with some excuse. I don't know. He had some big injury or whatever, nightmarish thing, whatever. Anyway, thanks for stepping in there. But great win for Michael Venom Page, nonetheless. Sergey Pavlovich beat Jairzinho Rosenstruck in an all-time heavyweight classic. All right. This one should have been over in 90 seconds because it was Sergey Pavlovich, but, he might have changed. He did win another decision, or he won a decision here. He's won them before, I think, a 5-rounder. But yeah, he won a decision here pretty comfortably, and he's no longer just a seek and destroy fighter. I do think the fight did get slowed down naturally by him landing on top of Jairzinho with whatever happened there. I know it wasn't a takedown, but certainly once he found himself on top, he made the most of it, and just he knew he was better there and heavier, and he shut down Jairzinho. Actually, don't even know who was heavier, but he was heavier on top, And after that, he was pretty much in cruise control. Jairzinho Rosenstruck is not the most active guy. He doesn't try to make things happen as often as he probably should. I mean, he knows how to fight well on the feet. He's deceptive and tricky, and he manages himself well. But here, he could have really stand to gain from putting his foot on the gas and seeing what happens. These guys did know each other. They trained together, which is something I didn't know. But yeah, this was not the heavyweight fight we wanted to see. Still a great win for Sergey Pavlovich, the guy that I think certainly has the better future moving forward. So even if it was a shit fight compared to our expectations, the guy that should have won. So good win for him in that sense. Vinicius Oliveira beat Said Nurmagomedov. This was an excellent win for Vinicius. I think I'm done doubting this guy. I still think Said Nurmagomedov is an excellent fighter, and he did showcase a lot of advantages over Vinicius. Technically, I thought he was the better fighter in the first half, but Vinicius was the better fighter in the second half, and he mixed things up well. And by the second half, I do mean the second two thirds, really, because I did score it for Vinicius Oliveira. But yeah, Vinicius said he wanted to fatigue Said Nurmagomedov, just getting in his face. And I thought, I don't know. I kind of have doubt about your cardio, even though you're the guy that got the third round finish and shut down Ricky Simone. But he did what he said he was going to do, and you could see Said Nurmagomedov visibly tired. I don't know if I'd say exhausted, but it was like the 3 round version of Umar's cardio against Marab a few weeks ago, where, yeah, he did slow down, lost that pep in his step, and as he was breathing deeply, Vinicius Oliveira was still attacking him and started getting in his face, getting his range, and of course, getting on top of him and being a problem because Vinicius Oliveira, he's fucking gigantic, really big and strong, and he can shut guys down with his physicality. And doing so down the stretch was a good look for him. And I think this was an excellent win for Vinicius. This may not make him a title contender or whatever, but yeah, the guy's a fucking problem moving forward, and he's not far off from a title. I mean, I don't even know what these guys have been ranked, but Ricky Simone, Said Nurmagomedov, and the Bernardo Sapai fight was short notice and whatever, but that was still incredible. He's got a lot of momentum in 3 short fights. This is like some Carlos Prates type of momentum that he's building just with the names he's beating. So great win for him. And for Saeed, I still think he's an incredible fighter, but no doubt Vinicius got in his face and slowed him down. Slowed him down and took him uh, to the next level and wore him down so he could win that fight. Faraz Ziam beat Mike Davis by decision. I had this one completely wrong. I thought Mike Davis hit harder and was physically stronger and would kind of be the bully in there. And I knew right away I was wrong. Whatever I said, 13 seconds into the fight when he was taken down or whatever happened there. I actually think he wanted to pull guard. Just from the way he was fighting and locking up the shoulder right away, it seemed like Mike Davis came in there looking to do jujitsu. I think his coaches looked and saw Farasian's been submitted a few times, the majority of his losses. He's been caught cold, I think, with rear naked chokes. And Mike Davis, even though he doesn't have the best submission record in the UFC or in MMA, he's only got 2 subs, but he's underrated there. Of course, he did put away Natan Levy, and I think that was his game plan. And Farasiam was able to shut him down and beat him up on the feet. I think Mike Davis, it took a while for him to get going. I don't know if he was stuck in jujitsu mode or whatever, but when he got on the feet, it could have just been the range of Farasiam, but he had a lot of trouble getting going. And Farasiam, I thought, was a step ahead and always found top position generally. I think Davis got on top of him, yeah, and did mount him, I think. I don't know. Either way, not much came of it, and Farasiam was too difficult to control and wrangle in the first place, and he had just too much for Mike Davis. Threatened him with some nice subs down the stretch, some Darce chokes. Farasiam's got those long arms where he can be that fucking Julian Arosa type or Kendall Grove or whatever. But he did outwork him on the feet, on the floor, and walked away with a great decision victory that keeps his momentum going. Both guys, I think, had four victories in a row. And Farasiam has defied my expectations again and cost me my fucking money again. And he's got an incredible winning streak here. So yeah, great win for Farasiam and tough loss for Mike Davis. I still thought he looked incredibly tough, but he looked more limited than I've ever seen him. Muhammadjan Naimov beat Khan Ofli by decision. I do think Khan Ofli was just a little too small and weak compared to Muhammadjan Naimov. He was able to pin him against the cage, but he wasn't able to go through him. And Muhammadjan Naimov, his physicality kept him in that fight, kept him on his feet, and he was just too much. Physically, he was landing the harder shots. I think he did drop Khan Ofli, although it might have been one of those halfway things. And he landed some nice takedowns. And when he took him down, he controlled him. He was just a step ahead pretty much this whole fight. I thought he won pretty comfortably, but it still wasn't the greatest fight, let's be honest. And for Khan Ofli, he's a guy who was knocked out in his last one in the Ultimate Fighter finale. And I have to see if he was knocked down or whatever, but I know he ate some big shots in this one. And it's good that he didn't go anywhere. He's still a young, healthy fighter, 29 years old or whatever he is. I could be way off. But yeah, this one was a fight where he was just a step behind. He was the smaller featherweight, and he couldn't go through Muhammadjan Naimov. Didn't have the speed to make that the story of the fight on the feet, and didn't have the physicality to change things up. So, tough loss for him in a pretty slow fight. Shamil Gaziev looked really fucking dangerous against Thomas Peterson. It landed some good right hands there and then turned it up in the end. And it looked like he knew this one's going to land. And right down the center, right down the pike, knocked out Thomas Peterson in round one. Thomas Peterson was getting in his face, bringing that pressure. I do like a lot of Thomas Peterson's traits as a fighter. But of course, now you'll hear me talk about durability maybe being one of them or lack thereof, because now this is another knockout loss for him. And of course, this one comes in round one. Gaziev, though, he's a big, gigantic problem, and he's pretty fucking dangerous. And I think this loss will age well. It's already pretty forgivable. He was a decent underdog, Thomas Peterson. But yeah, still another loss, and it's a knockout. But yeah, Gaziev moving forward, he's got a lot of promise. His one loss was the Jairzinho Rosenstruck up on the in the featured bout of this card, where Jairzinho and Shamil Gaziev. That was a big step up in competition. He was tamed over the course of 4 rounds, really after 1 round, but he still didn't go anywhere there. He was a step and a half behind that whole fight after round one, but he showed to have a good chin, if nothing else. So he's definitely got some promise moving forward at whatever he is, 14-1 now. Terrence McKinney got a TKO in round one in 2 minutes over Damir Hadjovic. Damir had a lot going against him just on paper. Out of the octagon for 3 years or whatever it was, now being 38 years old and the rest of it, and also being a guy who was susceptible to getting taken down. And even though that didn't happen here, and he actually took down Terrence McKinney swept him beautifully, and I think he did so with a guillotine. And then from there, maintained that mount, and Damir Hadjovic just had nowhere to go. He was fighting it for a good 30 seconds or a minute, but it was too much. And Terrence was still very fresh and dangerous and beat the hell out of him until the ref stopped it. Terrence McKinney remains the most exciting fighter in MMA. You know, he's not an elite fighter, so he's not going to get the accolades of Justin Gaethje or whatever. But fight for fight, pound for pound, whatever that means, he's as exciting as it gets in the history of MMA, Terrence McKinney. And this was another 2-minute victory for him, which for him is like a fucking marathon because his TKOs pretty much all come in like 5 seconds. Jasmine Jasdavicius beat Mayra Buena Silva by decision. This was way more lopsided than I thought it would be. I thought Mayra was taking it to Jasmine early, and I did expect her to have that extra bit on the feet, that extra bit of danger. And she was hitting her with some harder shots for 2 minutes, and that was pretty much it. Jasmine took her to the ground. Mayra did threaten with some arm bars and chokes and whatever different subs throughout the whole fight, but generally after that first takedown, it was over. Jasmine was too much for her on top. She did escape a guillotine or whatever, and then once she got that side control, Jasmine is very long, dangerous, maybe not dangerous, but a difficult top control fighter. And Mayra Buena Silva had nowhere to go and was overwhelmed. Not to the point of getting finished, but she was overwhelmed to the point of begging for fouls and trying to involve the ref and slow things down and whatever else. I'm sure she was hit with some legitimate fouls there, but uh, Jasmine Jasdavicius was not cheating. Shit happens and whatever, but Jasmine was just doing her thing and trying to win, and Mayra was focused on other shit because things weren't really going her way. Jasmine is a contender. Here she was, the third fight from the bottom, the third fight of the night here against Mayra Buena Silva on a fight night card. And Jasmine probably would get better opportunities if she was more dangerous. But her record speaks for itself. And here she beat a girl that challenged for the title in 2024, I think. So this is an excellent victory. And look, she beat the girl that beat Holly Holm last year or whenever. So Jasmine is an incredible fighter. She's definitely exceeded my expectations. I think she had some difficult matchmaking with the Natalia Silva fight early, but both those girls are now contenders, and maybe we'll see them rematch one day. But yeah, Jasmine's fucking awesome, and this was a great victory. And for Mayra Buena Silva, dropping down in weight and losing like this, I don't want to say, oh, it's a pivotal loss because I do think Jasmine is going to keep going and do big things. And Mayra Buena Silva's still an incredible fighter, but this could be a pivotal loss. Didn't affect her health like it does with Israel Adesanya, but yeah, this is a tough one. Bogdan Grot beat Lucas Alexander by TKO in round two. I thought this was an excellent victory for Bogdan. I thought he was a step behind technically on the feet. Lucas was just sharper, and Lucas was having his way early, but Bogdan stayed in his face, ended up dropping him. I think catching a kick and clipping him like Igor Vovchanchin or whatever happened there. But he got on top of him, and once he got on top, his grappling was superior. He did try to grapple, I think, early in round one, but by the time they got to round two, they were both tired, and the better grappler had better grappling. And Bogdan Grad advanced on him, mounted him, and pounded him until the ref stopped the fight. It was an excellent victory for Bogdan Grad. It was a difficult fight, and he needed to use all of his skills and all of his traits to get this victory. But he got it, and I think got himself a nice bonus as well with a round two TKO finish that can be considered a comeback as well. So great win for him. And Hamdi Abdelwahab beat Jamal Pogues by split decision. I called it. All right. Jamal totally won this fight, in my opinion. I can't say he was robbed. I'd have to watch it again, which is a pretty fucking tall order because it wasn't a great fight. It was close, though. I do think Handy landed some good ground and pound early. That could have helped him in round one, helped him win round one. But after he got up, Jamal Pogues, I thought he was taking over that fight in the middle of round one, which made round one close. And rounds two and three were close enough, I guess, maybe. Again, I'd have to rewatch it, but I still thought Jamal Pogues was ahead. I was very sure he was going to win a decision. Again, there's a line somewhere dividing very bad decisions and robberies, and I don't know where this fight lies, but I can say when I was watching it, I thought it was a very bad decision. I did think Hamdi looked tough and didn't give up any big moments, but I still thought the small moments were one sided. And I'm not somebody who lives by the stats, I don't go by the numbers, but I do use the numbers to justify what I saw. And yeah, Jamal Pokes did have better numbers, whatever they showed them on the screen. I think he landed 20 plus significant strikes. I mean, that was the difference. 20 plus more significant strikes than Hamdi. And I thought he should have won that fight, but whatever. Kind of like whoever I was talking about before, Jairzinho Rosenstruck. Jamal Pogues, who is now a bona fide decision fighter, he doesn't put his foot on the gas so much either. And that leaves room for either very bad decisions or even perhaps robberies. But altogether, this was an awesome event. Uh, Definitely some great moments here. And the main event is the biggest moment and the one that everybody will remember. Israel Adesanya gets knocked out by Nasruddin Imavov. And again, remember, this guy could be a champion very soon. So, incredible main event in the fight night. Like, share, subscribe, all that horse shit, and check out my other videos. See ya.